Ambassador, who is the EUMA protecting Armenia from? Who is the enemy?
The enemy would be the risk of instability and uncertainty. Again, in a border conflict, again, and in this case, the border is the conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan. Then, as we have seen, you simply have the risk because people are in such close proximity that things can happen, misunderstandings, and so having that, third party that both sides can hopefully have confidence in to de-escalate, well, ideally to prevent anything from happening in the first place, to de-escalate tensions if anything does happen. So it's a, it is. I think that would be the way I would characterize the work of the mission.
I'm asking that question because Pashinyan is furious at Russia and the CSTO because they would not define Azerbaijan as the aggressor in this situation. So he basically said, if you don't know who is the enemy and the aggressor that we need to protect protection from, then who would you be defending? Can you talk to us a little bit about what the success metrics are that are established for the Canadian engagement in the mission? For example, under what circumstances will you be able to say that this was a successful mission for Canada?
No, so again, the success of EUMA is in the reduction of tensions and ideally the elimination, but certainly the reduction of tensions and violent incidents that occur along the border. And again, if you look at that over the course of the history of the mission, it has already been very successful in that regard. And I think that's one of the reasons why we have seen that the EU has taken the decision to expand the size of the mission. So that, I think, is the primary and most important measure of success. And I think that already there is a lot of success that can be counted. I think a secondary one is also that this, I think, is probably one of the most visible, tangible demonstrations of the international community's support. And again, just from having had discussions with people in the regions where EUMA has been operating, as well as with officials here in Yerevan from the government, the degree of, or the added degree of reassurance that this provides, that particularly in a context where we have the war in Ukraine, we have the conflict in the Middle East, there are many crises around the world. This is a demonstration that the international community remains engaged with Armenia by showing their support, by having this mission deployed. So that may not be as tangible a benefit as the reduction of incidents on the border, but I do think it is also an important one that cannot be overlooked.
So just the last topic on the monetary mission, Ambassador Turner, there are some concerns from neighbors. I mean, we have heard concerns vocally from Russia, but also Iran as well. And we see Iran as very concerned about the territorial integrity of Armenia, preventing the Zangezur corridor scenario, as is commonly referred. And they have also expressed concern about non-regional actors, being deployed to the region, whether it's a peacekeeping mission or even like an observer mission. So, what would you say to concerns from regional neighbors about, the potential vector of this observation mission, whether it could be transformed into a military mission in the future, and whether it is directed perhaps not only on the border of Armenia and Azerbaijan, but other neighbors as well?
The first thing I would say is that I think there is a shared concern from all of the countries in the region, as well as within the broader international community, of the inherent risks and instability that come whenever there is an attempt to use military force to violate the sovereignty and change borders or seize territory. And again, we have the very close example of that, of just seeing the disaster of what Russia has done in Ukraine. So the concerns that are expressed from Tehran or from Yerevan or from Washington and Ottawa about those scenarios are all very valid. If we don't have the rules-based international order to work from, we very quickly risk scenarios that can spiral out of control. And Azerbaijan may think that they can launch a military invasion and have a quick success, but yes, that could drag in Iran, which could drag in others. And again, we have the very, very clear example of Russia seeming to think that they could invade Ukraine, get something done within a few days, and it would all be over. And now we're still going in, 2+ years later. With a disastrous conflict that is having ramifications around the world because of the impact of Russia's disastrous decision has disrupted energy and food and all kinds of things. So I think the concerns about that type of military action and the unintended consequences and the risks that can come from it are understandably shared by large numbers of countries. However, I wouldn't see a link between that valid concern that would be shared and the role of the EUMA. EUMA is, as I said, an unarmed civilian mission. It has no military function. It is deployed entirely within Armenia. So it is not even deployed on the Azerbaijani side of the border. And its function is very specifically focused on observing and being able to help reduce tensions as a result. And again, it's deployed along that very specific border. So there is no role for it with regards to Iran or Russia or anything else. And certainly the presence of even with the expansion, potentially no more than several hundred unarmed civilians along the Armenian side of the border, there is no way that can be interpreted as a threat or a risk to any neighboring country or to Russia. It simply doesn't withstand any degree of scrutiny. Such a suggestion, both the size and the composition of the mission would make it impossible for it to do anything that would be in any way a threat. And again, given that this discussion is all going to be part of a hopefully negotiated peace settlement, there would be no one is going to throw an international military presence into the region against the wishes of the countries involved. And in terms of deployments along, should Armenia and Azerbaijan decide that they want an international presence, whether military or civilian, to help manage the border issues, then that would be their right and their decision to make.